Shalom, Yashrala. This is your brother Dawud Da from GMS Tepe07, coming at you with This Is Truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praises unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Waha Rakah Kadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that taught me this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you, Akim, pushing this truth with sincerity on the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions. All right, we're getting to this here quick lesson, which was sparked by a news clip today. I was watching the news earlier today. And, I guess Donald Trump tweeted out that basically that, the time in Syria was winding down, that not really Syria, but, they was talking about Syria, but overall ISIS. They said that they're dealing with ISIS. ISIS is pretty much defeated, and they're about done with all of that. And they were talking about it's about time for them to pull out of Syria, okay? Now, just going into all of that, the reason that they're actually in Syria is for so-called regime change. It's not because of a problem with so-called terrorists, but there's a story behind another story, so these stories get all mixed up when you tell a bunch of lies and stuff like that, So nevertheless, I believe he said he was pulling out of it's about time for him to start pulling out of Syria. For ISIS was pretty much defeated. Their job was pretty much done. So they're gonna, he said soon. He didn't give a date or anything like that. He said it was coming soon. So with that, you have to put in place all the different pieces of what's going on. So-called America is over in the Middle East, namely Syria. And then with that, you have part of the name ISIS is I believe it's called the Iraq and Syria Islamic State. That's what the acronym ISIS stands for. So, part of their place is in Syria, But like I said, nevertheless, the mainstream story was, dealing with the Syrian thing was that the Assad regime was killing his own people. So like it. And America went over there and armed what they call the Free Syrian Army, in which that spiraled out and turned into ISIS, And this is how you link those stories together. But nevertheless, Donald Trump's talking about pulling out of there. So what does that mean for that whole region, What does that mean for that region is that basically saying, okay, the job's done, looking at this in a perspective, the job's done. There's no more terrorists. That problem is eradicated. And it'll go down in history book, and we're going to move forward to the next phase of the next problems in the world, So if you look at it on this type of perspective, the last, 10 years or so, America constantly has been at war, but the wars that America has been at in the last 10 years has not been against another nation. I want to say, I don't believe they went to war with any other nation, in the prior years, So, and the way they would word these things is, we're trying to liberate the people of Iraq from their brutal dictator Saddam Hussein, okay? Or, they're trying to eradicate terrorists from these areas, But nevertheless, when you look at their agenda, what they want you to believe is that, okay, the ISIS problem or the terrorist problem is done. The whole Middle East is all cleaned up now. We're going to move out. So in hindsight, what are they, pretty much saying in general? Okay, everything is pretty much calmed down now for that whole scenario, minus the Israeli problem, But other than that, that region is pretty much stable now, So they're pretty much saying like, oh, it's peace and safety now, we're getting into a transition time, okay? From their agenda, like, from what these people are trying to feed you to understand, okay? So the terrorist problem is now, fading away. And I just said this not too long ago. I was like, wait a minute, whatever happened to ISIS on the news, There hadn't been that many stories about them, And there's been a lot of mass shootings in Russia, North Korea. We've been seeing a lot of news clips about other nations now, not terrorist problems inside of other nations. We see in other nations and, the battle cries for war from actual other nations like Russia, North Korea, China, and these things. It's no longer just so-called a terrorist group or a group that's inside of another nation, okay? This has been the difference between these wars. We haven't been at war with any other nation, prior, for a long time, We've actually just been in war inside these nations for certain reasons, okay? Or conducting exercises in these nations is how they like to word it. They don't use the word war and battles and stuff like that anymore. I think they use like campaigns or things like that. Esau and his double tongue, freedom fighters, liberators, those types of things. If he's doing it, he's a freedom fighter or a liberator. If they doing it, they're a terrorist, But nevertheless, this is getting into what they're trying to say. This whole area is becoming stabilized or peaceful now. Okay, you can live in peace and safety. So this is the thing you have to look for, because all this military warfare and all this wars that's been going on for the last 10 plus years, more than 10 years now. But all this bombing and all this stuff is, from, again, their perspective is going to slow down now, because the so-called terrorist problem, the whole reason we was over there, from 9/11 up until this point, was mainly because so-called terrorists. That's why they would want you to believe they've been blowing up that side of the planet was for the terrorists. So when you pull away the terrorists, they're trying to let you know they're trying to get you to believe that you're going to be in peace and safety. Okay, so these are some of the signs you need to look for the next big move to come, like a thief in the night. This is what the scriptures is talking about. And these are the signs that are set up for the thief in the night, You have all these wars and the rumors of wars, like the scriptures say, but the time is not yet. Matter of fact, let me get this real quick, because that's where we're going at. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, and verse 6. It says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Okay? And so for the last, like I said, not the last 10 years, the last couple of years, since Russia got stirred back up, and before the Syria conflict, you've been hearing about wars and rumors of wars. Okay? You've been hearing these things go on and on and on. You've been hearing the threats between these different nations, North Korea, Iran, these types of things, between nation against nation, okay? Like actual countries versus other countries, all right? So a thief in the night's not going to come at that point in time, It's like, you can't catch somebody unexpected at that point in time. We all expecting war. Everybody is on edge, okay? This is what these scriptures talking about. You're going to hear of wars and rumors of wars, all right? North Korea with this, Russia with that, Iran with this, Those are all rumors of wars, okay? None of those wars took place. You have all these so-called conflicts, but none of those wars ever took place, all right? So that's what the scripture's talking about the wars and the rumors of wars, all right? Not saying that those countries aren't going to be at war, because those are the countries that are going to partake, as according to in the book of Ezekiel, all right? Now, those countries are going to go to war, but like the scripture to be fulfilled, it says there's going to be wars and rumors of wars, all right? And now, let me just read this one more time through, and we'll grab the other scripture, because I only wanted to pull two scriptures. It says, Matthew 24 and 6, and you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. All right? So all in these times when you're hearing about Russia and all this, and we could turn America into a nuclear ash pile, and I believe North Korea said that, and all these things, the end is not coming yet, because this is what the scriptures say, and if you believe on this word, as the scriptures say, then that's what it is, For those people who would, the scoffers are like, you've been talking about this for the longest time. Like, yeah, that's what the scriptures say. It's a war and a rumor of war, talking about these things. These are the signs to look for. All right? It says, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. Okay, now the nation against nation is basically talking about different, how here in America you say different races of people. All right? So you would have like, the Chinese versus the so-called Edomites, or the Chinese versus like the Russians. That would be a nation versus a nation. All right, two different races of people, or you could even be living in the same spot, in the same little territory or whatever. You can have what they would call like race wars nowadays. You have different classes of these people. All right, and then it says, and kingdom against kingdom. All right, now this is talking more or less about like just countries, or boundaries, countries more or less like that, So you could have like what you see with Russia and America, all right? Well, those are both Edomites, all right? So they just basically go to war with each other, but that's two different kingdoms, all right? Not two different nations. So Jacob and Esau will be the two different nations, like you see the race wars rising up here in America, all right? And then the kingdoms against kingdoms, that's like the differences between, like you might have the same two people fighting it, like, Arab versus Arab, or Edomite versus Edomite. You have those things as well, all right? So basically it's covering on all angles. It's going to be all-out warfare everywhere, but international warfare and then also domestic warfare, all right? It says, For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines, pestilence, earthquakes in diverse places. And all these are the beginning of sorrows. All right, so you see all these things are happening. We're living in the midst of all this right now. This isn't a prophecy anymore. This isn't something that you're looking forward to see. You in the midst of all this, and and like you living in these days. This has been going on for like literally, I believe, like slowly since 2001, September 11, 2001, and it started speeding up again in 2012. All right, then again in like 2015, and now in 2018. Salakia. And now in 2018, these like the Apostle Tahar is deemed this the year of prophecy. These things are starting to speed up, all right? Just like the scriptures say, like a woman with these birth pains, That's how they liken it to a woman. Like I gave those dates, 2001, 2012. From 2001 to 2012, there's an 11-year gap, all right? Then you have 2012, 2015, 3 years went by. Now you have from 2015 to 2018 in the 3 year span, 2018, you having the amount of prophecies that's happening in between those prior dates all happening in this, like we in like the third month, you know what I'm saying? And it's popping off. So you seeing it's starting to happen like a woman's contractions and labor pains, all right? Just like the scriptures are saying, all right? So we definitely in these times, all right? Now, the next scripture I'm going to pull out is basically the calling sign, all right? Because like I said, what we're reading here in Matthew 24, this part is pretty much not a, we literally living in this day to where this is no longer becoming a prophecy no more. This is more or less living just the days you're living in, because the prophecies is to say before, but this ain't something that, that's going to happen one day. No, this is happening every day of our life right now, all right? Because you hear about wars and rumors of wars and earthquakes and famines in diverse places. You see Venezuela, all right? You see that tsunami out there in Japan a couple years back, all right? You see North Korea with the missiles and all that stuff, all right? And another thing with the North Korea thing, I was just speaking, this was prompted by the news article with Donald Trump and his tweet about the terrorist deal, in the Middle East, letting you know that whole area is about to start, they're about to start running ads, and I say ads because they're advertising a message for you to buy into it, all right? This is how they keep you on their little, they keep you following their lead, They're about to start advertising to you that little area is, that area is calmed down from the terrorist problem. Now they're going to start focusing their problems on these other countries, all right, like Turkey, like Russia, China, North Korea, and these things. Not only that, a couple of weeks back, and also right now in these times, you have North Korea and South Korea starting to talk now, all right? They're having diplomatic talks now, all right? And just the other day, they supposedly they spotted, well, they ain't supposed, but they got video of it, but they had Kim Jong-un out in China negotiating with, I forgot what that guy's name is, Xi Jinping or something like that. Yeah, but they was out there talking, the leader of China, So you starting to see, and I believe they had said this was Kim Jong-un's first international trip anywhere, all right, like as a diplomatic, meeting with it, any of the heads of state, more or less to say. So you're starting to see, at a time like that we've been living in for the last 3 or 4 years, it's been a real hectic time. The drum beats of war has been beating harder and harder, year after year after year, from when like the Russia-Georgia conflict, the damn Russia-Ukraine conflict, shit, like that was like, when Russia and Georgia, the Russia-Georgia conflict popped off, I thought that was it, that was some years back, Barack Obama was still in office, and then with the Crimea thing, I thought that was it too, but again, it's like the scripture says, it's going to be like birth pains, like a woman who travails with child, in her labor, all right? Now, the next scripture I wanted to grab, like I said, I only wanted to pull 2 scriptures out with this because it's more or less of a breaking down of the times that we in and just bringing these things together. And these are all scriptures that we know, like the back of our hand. All right. This is 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. I'm going to start at the top. But of the times and the seasons, brethren, you have no need that I write unto you. Right. Just like I was just explaining, it was more or less pretty much these 2 scriptures I'm about to bring out, and we know these scriptures, like the back of our hand, wars and rumors of wars. All right. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord cometh as a thief in the night, all right? So like I was pairing up beforehand, You're going to hear wars and rumors of wars, which we've been hearing about these wars and rumors of wars for the last, 5 years, I believe, to say, like, with other nations. Like, oh, shit, Russia really finna get down now, They bringing out, just think about it. They unveiled the Satan 1 missile. Then years later, they unveiled the Satan 2 missile, all right? They unveiled the S-300 system. They've unveiled the S-400 system. They're working on the S-500 Prometheus system that they say going to be online in 2020. All right. America has unveiled the THAAD system. What is it? What is that? Thermal altitude, something like that. Basically it's the same thing as the S-400 system. Same thing, pretty much. But they've been unveiling these different systems, and these systems don't come, this year, next year, next. There's time in between. These are the wars and the rumors of wars that we heard about. These are the things that they said. But like I said, and like the scriptures, mainly like the scriptures say, that day is going to come as a thief in the night. So when you start to see these weapons and all these things being paraded around in the streets and stuff like that, that's not the time for war. Those are the wars and the rumors of wars. They just, how Jake say in the hood, man, they just flexing, But when you see homeboy just walking up on you, taking his jewelry off, bruh, he ain't selling you out. He just goddamn getting to it, That's when these things come. And peace and safety, hey, he stopped running his mouth. You might want to watch out now, But beforehand, when they over here, basically selling wolf tickets, they just wars and rumors of wars, all right? So, reading back in 1 Thessalonians 5:2, it says, for yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. So it's going to catch you unexpected. And it's not going to catch you when you hear about all these wars and rumors of wars, all right? Like I said, we living in these times now. But we're about to start transitioning into a time where you're about to start seeing all these things on the planet Earth coming to see, like, peace and safety, They're going to basically start settling all the so-called, give the illusion that they settling all the Earth's problems with all these different calamities that they have going, climate control, this, that. All these things are going to come up with basically a solution for all these things, And if you're looking at the technology and all this stuff that's going on, you see that basically all they're doing is about to transfer you over into the New World Order, the mark of the beast system, all right? And I go into this, in a couple of videos when you talk, like I said, you have to tie these things together, It's one thing to just keep reading these scriptures, and I mean, it's good to know these scriptures, and a lot of people recite these scriptures a lot, but can they really tie them together and see what's really going on and how they link to other scriptures that on the surface have nothing to do with these things, all right? So, again, we talk about all these things, all right? Let me read the last verse, and then I'll keep going into it. It says, 1 Thessalonians 5:1, but of the times and the season, brethren, you have no need that I write unto you. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail a woman with child, and they shall not escape. All right. So again, pair that with Matthew 24. And then also, you have to understand the conditions of the world we're living in. Everything is in shambles. Everything is crashing from the economy is collapsing. The so-called weather and however you want to call that, all that is collapsing. With so-called global warming and all these animals going out of their wits and all these things. Now, obviously, it's like when it's spiritual, you think about spiritual, it's the Most High and His plan. I'm speaking as of an Edomite trying to tell the rest of the world to believe his lies, all right? This is the story they're trying to tell you, Oh, we have all these calamities going on, basically, But now they're going to come up with the solution. If you brothers know about the Hegelian dialect, problem, reaction, solution, this is their game plan. You have to understand your enemy and how your enemy get down. This is his battle. This is how he get down in battle. You got to understand him to be one move ahead of him. The Most High gave us the scriptures for these things, Wisdom and knowledge should be the stability of that time, And blessed is he that readeth. But nevertheless, their solution for the energy rates and running out of fuel and oil and all this crazy shit, because the Rothschilds sold all their oil off, so they prepared for this new system. And the new system is, if you look up, I think it's called Songday City or Masdar City, and there's another one. These are these smart cities, And Masdar City, I believe, is in the Middle East somewhere, off in the goddamn desert, in the middle of nowhere. They pretty much have a high-tech city, which basically is the New World Order system you're going to be living in, all right? And it entails, like I said, you got to tie all these things together. The Morgellons disease, which is the smart dust, which is the wiring of the circuitry in your body to replace your nervous system. To do what? To run off of the brain, which is the RFID microchip. That RFID microchip has to perform in some kind of bandwidth or something, and they're going to use 5G technology with that, all right? Then they're going to use the cloud and system to store all of this, what they call metadata, okay? Then to sift through all of this and read the algorithms and create new algorithms to predict the future and to see all these different things, they're going to use what they call D-wave computers, okay? These damn, they're more than a quantum computer, but nevertheless, you know, and really they got D-wave 3 computers, but you know, that's not really getting off topic, speaking about the mark of the beast, but you can see that these things are right here because, like the scriptures say, you can hear wars and rumors of wars. We was in that time for the longest, but now you're starting to see them slow down with that, all right? And you're starting to see them start to pick up with, all right, so we about to start finding a solution to all these things. Like Donald Trump said, we're going to make America great again. Now we're coming on an uphill battle. Things are so-called getting better. But actually, when they say peace and safety, you could go home, now everything is cool, go back to normal. You know, no, that's when sudden destruction come in hand, all right? So now's the time to be on fire. Now it's time to push harder than ever. You know, I'm going to go ahead and close out with that. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. And with that, I say, Call Halal Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah, double honors to the apostles and the elders of great millstone that taught me this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you, Akim, pushing this truth and sincerity in the four corners of the earth. Shalom.